Hey guys, Ponyline here, with another Star Wars Battlefront Early Access Beta gameplay. And this time we're going to be talking about how to win Walker's Soul on Hoth from the Rebel side. During the 2 days of access that the Game Changers had to the beta for Star Wars Battlefront, there was only one time where the Rebels actually ended up winning in Walker's Soul, and that is why I felt that it was important to go ahead and make a video on how to go ahead and overcome the hurdle. So for Walker's Soul itself, there's only one goal that the Rebels have, and that is to destroy the 2 AT-ATs that are on the battlefield. In order to do this, there's a few different ways to go about it. But for starters, let's go ahead and talk about why it's so difficult for the Rebels to win at Walker's Soul in the first place. The Stormtroopers themselves have access to the AT-AT and the AT-STs, meaning that they're the only side in Walker's Soul that has access to ground vehicles. Both sides have access to fighter jets, but why this is important is because there is no access to both the ion shot or the ion torpedo, which happens to be available in the single player during the beta. And this means that there's only so many things that the Rebels can actually do to damage vehicles. And I will go ahead and get into that later on in the video. But generally speaking, this means that the Rebels are just going to have to use their primary weapons to deal damage to the vehicles. Now let's talk about some of the important icons that are in the game mode. On the right hand side, you can see the 2 AT-ATs. That is the health of both the vehicles. The middle happens to be the progression through the game mode. The 3 circles represent the 3 times that the AT-ATs will be exposed. And the left side happens to show the Y-Wing. This represents how many Y-Wings are going to be available during the bombing run. In order to gain access to more Y-Wings during the bombing runs, the Rebels need to defend the uplinks. Every time that the Rebels are able to successfully defend one uplink, they will gain one Y-Wing. That is why it's very important to go ahead and gain control of the uplinks. A good strategy to adopt while playing as the Rebels in Walker's Soul is to try to push up past the uplinks. Doing so will allow your teammates to be able to push up, arm, as well as defend the uplinks. This will allow you to be able to deal maximum damage to the AT-ATs when they are vulnerable. It also helps that the defenders will be able to be preoccupied with enemies that are pushed up towards their spawn, and that way they won't be able to focus on actually disarming the uplinks. When facing off with the vehicles, even though you won't have ion shots or ion torpedoes, there is still effective ways to be able to fight the AT-STs, and it's important to be able to destroy them because good drivers can absolutely decimate the Rebel forces. So the best way to deal a good amount of damage is to switch between your cycle rifle and your primary weapon. This will allow you to deal consistent damage and be able to take them out as fast as possible without using something such as the smart rockets. Also, for the Rebels to be able to use are turret emplacements that are scattered across the battlefield. There's different types that can shoot faster or shoot one shot at a time charge-up shots. These are lasers, they're not projectile shots, meaning that they do overheat and they do need to charge back up. When the AT-ATs are vulnerable, these are great weapons to be able to utilize and be able to help destroy the AT-ATs. If you happen to allow more than one AT-AT to get past the second set of objectives, then it's going to be very difficult to win. The reason for this is because since it's an open area, the AT-ATs will be able to use all their armory against you at that point in time, rendering your team almost useless. And of course, what would a Hoth battle be without the ability to use a snowspeeder to take out an AT-AT? Now, unfortunately, I was not able to get any footage of using the tow cable, or for that matter, being able to fly without my key bindings being messed up, so I apologize for the lack of footage on that front. But I can at least tell you that when you're using the vehicle, the only time that you are actually able to use the tow cable is when the AT-ATs are vulnerable. And to be able to use the tow cable, you have to approach the vehicle legs, and at which point you'll get a prompt to hit a button to go ahead and use the tow cable. At that point, you're going to have to keep your flight controls within a certain range to be able to successfully take out the AT-AT, but you can do it. Now, this brings us back to the finale. The one game that we did win on Walker's Soul is when we focused on one AT-AT at a time, and we all focused on making sure that we were dealing damage. Whether it be with smart rockets, primary weapons, cycle rifles, emplacement turrets, it all ended up helping for the team to actually win. It's important to note, guys, that in order to win in Walker's Soul from the Rebel side, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. You can't just be focused on your KD. When the vehicles are vulnerable, you have to destroy them. You have to focus on taking out the AT-STs. You have to focus on getting the uplinks and defending them. This means that this is a very team-oriented game mode, especially from the Rebel side. From the Imperial side, you can use the vehicles, you can use the heroes, you can focus on certain aspects that are much more individual, but on the Rebel side, it is much more team-oriented. And also, you get the satisfaction when you win on that front. Now, also know that you do get points whenever you deal any damage to the AT-ATs, whether you destroy it or not. So I hope you guys found this information useful. I hope that you guys as rebels are able to win against the Imperial forces, and I hope to all see you on the battlefront soon.